Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations I'm creating based off of Murox, HTML5, and CSS3 4th edition, the PowerPoints. This book is one of two that's being used for the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Web Development 1000, Web Development Technologies class. So far, I have gone through all 8 chapters in here. I just did chapter 9. I'm going to do chapter 10 on grid layout right now. I've done 10 through 15, so after I get done with 10, I'm going to do 16, and I've done 17 through 20. So I'm 80% of the way through. 2 more chapters to go. All right? Guess that's 90% of the way through, not 80. Okay, even better. So let's get started talking about using grid layout. All right, a little longer chapter than the last one that we just went over, so let's see how it goes here. It says, in general terms, describe the use of grid layout. Grid is much more, I don't even know how to describe it. Sooner or later in this class, we're going to spend some time on Bootstrap. And when we do, you'll understand the grid a little bit more. All right? When we look at a grid layout, you'll notice in here we've got what? 4, 8, 12, 16 of these boxes that are in here. All right? And you can see that there's some components. Grid track, grid cell, grid lines, grid container, etc. All right? So when you work on this, and here's an example of creating a 2 by 3 column grid. All right. So you'll notice before where we did the display flex. Now we're not. Let's see if we can grab this and make it look like what they've got there. So I'm going to take all of this stuff that we did earlier, and for now at least, I'm going to comment it out. Add this, which is a main section that the author is adding right there. All right. Save that. Go over to our CSS and add this. Again, as we did before, I'm just going to comment everything out that's in here. Move that and put this in. So yeah, everything is commented out right there. In fact, I don't think I'll need it because that was for displaying with flex. So I'm just going to get rid of it, which will make it easier for us to work with. All right, so we're saying our div, we have a div. It should have a background color of silver. And our main area should be displaying, instead of displaying flex rather, should be displaying grid. And we're setting up a template of a certain size, and we're telling the amount of area that we want to have in between these. All right, so let's do this first. Let's totally take out all of our CSS, every bit. Then come back to here, and that's all it's going to have is this. So let's run it. Look pretty ugly, I'm sure. There it is. All right. Now let's just add things incrementally. In other words, let's add just the div, which will probably just change the color and not do anything else. Okay, pretty obvious what happened there. Now let's come back and let's add our grid and all of its components. Oh, and you don't want to run that one, of course. There we go. Okay. Now look at how nicely we've laid that out. And all we had to do was put in a little bit of CSS. There really wasn't much of anything we had to do. All right. We wanted a grid. Okay. And we wanted this, for lack of better words, to be 100 by 150 pixels. And we wanted there to be a gap between each one. Oops. I'd say out of everything that's in this book, this is what I am the least familiar with, and it'll probably show in here. All right. Now, when you do this, you can use pixels as they mentioned right here. That's not recommended. Remember, pixels are an absolute unit. What's recommended is instead you use what are called fractions, and that's an FR. All right. You can mix them, so you can use pixels, percentages, fractions, etc. Sometimes you may want to do that just for some kind of an effect. You can tell it to repeat. So we've got this, and then repeat this and this. So this is a pattern that's being set up here. There is an auto fit, as it says, that you can use in here and give it a minimum and a maximum size. That's what this chapter is filled with, is just a boatload of examples of things that you can do. But notice what you can do in here is you can get some very different looking effects. Let's see if we take a look at this one, if we can get that one to work. And again, I'm not telling you anything I haven't already said more than once in this class, and that is, if you say to me, you know, I'd really like to learn this stuff, and yeah, I mean, you're helping us, but you know, you're not giving us that much, then do what I'm doing. All right, now that looks pretty ugly because we haven't applied the CSS from the book to it yet, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So we're saying the nav, the section, the main, and the footer, all of them we want to display grid at 100%. Then the nav, we're setting up a template of a certain size. The divs, we're telling it that we're setting it up a pattern that we want to repeat of a certain type. The section, we're setting up rows. Our main area, we're again setting up a pattern that we want to repeat. And we've got different stuff set up for the footer. All right. Now, was that a stellar explanation? Of course not. But I'm going to give you again some more different references when we get to the end here. So we saw this and how ugly it was. Okay. And now you can see this. Not sure why it's good doing it in that color. Somehow I lost my background color. What if we said here, I don't know if this will make it better or worse, but probably worse, because now it looks like it's one big color. That's probably why they did it like that. All right. The grid lines and HTML tags for a grid container. The only way that you will learn how to use this stuff is to play with it. All right. In fact, I'm just going to pretty much go through, you know, there's just example after example in here, right? Okay. And I know I'm not giving you virtually anything in here. We're going to try to do this type of layout, okay? But what I want to show you is this. Again, sorry if I sound like a broken record here, but as mentioned before, I would recommend going over and watching Mr. Travers. He has got a thing on grid layout. It's a little longer. It's almost a half an hour. Grid layout crash course. But if you don't want to do that, at a minimum, you should be going out again to W3 Schools. And there they show a grid layout module. So you can see how this is set up. They give you the elements and they show you how to set all this stuff up, how to display, etc. I'm not going to run through any of these. I wouldn't be doing them justice. But notice here, right here, what have we done? Well, we kind of created a tic-tac-toe board, for lack of better words. All right, so you can set it up, and they show you how to set it up, and how these are the columns, these are the rows, etc. How to put gaps in between for effect. And again, it's not my intention here to go over every one of these, but you'll notice that every time they present anything, they give you a lot of examples. That's what I hope that you get out of this. All right? Okay. That's pretty much it. Granted, it wasn't very long. Look at that. We're at 11 minutes, so this will end around 12 minutes. But when I come back up, and I wish I wouldn't have closed that, but I did. When we come back in just a moment, I'll be going over the last chapters with the PowerPoints in this book. And that will be Chapter 16. Chapter 16, more on CSS, but it's on how to, on different effects. So how to use transitions, transforms, animations, and filters. I'll be back with that presentation in just a couple minutes.